She's a going. We've been running it without brakes.
Tiling!
Did you get a new toy bow? Wow. Welcome back to Todd Family Farm. Today we are actually going to be doing some tiling.
Tiling!
Yeah, we're going to be doing some tiling over south of our pond on that hill there. You probably don't know what I'm talking about, but there's a hill that's south of our pond. We're going to be putting some tile in there. And yeah, that's our project for today.
And you haven't seen our last video where we tiled down our culvert, go check that out. It's a good video.
So Lemuel's telling you to go watch the fixing a crushed tile video, and I'll put a card for that like right there. Maybe, or maybe it's right there, I don't know. Somewhere in one of the top corners. But yeah, go check that video out. And we're going to be doing some tiling today, so stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy.
Welcome to Todd Family Farm. We genuinely appreciate everybody who watches. Helps our channel grow, and we try to improve with better quality, actual physical quality of the footage, and doing a better job. So we're grateful for everybody who watches. We truly are. We're going to stick with it and try to keep putting out good videos. So today we're tiling, and so I want to give you a little bit of thoughts about tiling before we get into it, so you know what's happening. And tiling is, for some people, they don't understand it. They just automatically hate tiling. It's just another thing that farmers do to destroy the ground. That's what they think. And really, they don't understand or have an idea. They don't really have a clue what's going on. And it's people that I'm not mad at them. I'm not trying to be judgmental on them, but they just say they're them ornery mega farmers putting more of that black tube in the ground and destroying the ground. And that's not what we're doing. I want to let you know. So what we do is, you have tile, and you've seen this if you've watched many YouTube videos, or maybe you're a farmer. But if you don't know, we put a 4-inch round pipe, flexible pipe, tile, in the ground, and that tile has slots in it, and then the water will work its way down into the tile and then work its way into an appropriate spot. And so it's called drain tile. It's perforated drain tile. It's black plastic tube, and yes, we put that in the ground. We don't just do it willy-nilly. There's a scientific method to what we're doing, and what it is, for instance, and Abby, show them the hill over there. You see that hill right over here, the big hill. Let's say, and we're up on top of a hill. Let's say we're about 900 foot elevation, right? And down there on the bottom, there's a creek that runs through, and the water is going to run down to the creek. Well, the water, when it runs down to the creek, that creek might be 700 foot or 750. There might be 150 foot of fall there. So why would we tile? And today we're going to see if we can tile. It's been awful cold. Ground might be too frozen, so we might not be able to tile, but we're going to try to tile today. And we're going to go over there, and there's a pocket halfway up that hill where water oozes out. And what happens is water springs out of the hill. So water will fall, rain will fall over all of that ground, and it soaks in, and water wants the path of least resistance. And so if you're doing it right, you force your water into the ground. You don't want it to run off. Running off water is bad. It is terrible, terrible bad. You do not want water to run off. So when you have water running off, it can take dirt with it. It takes nutrients with it. That's bad. So we rip the ground up to let the water soak in. When the water soaks in, sometimes it goes down, and that's a long ways. 150 foot is a long ways to the water table and to the creek. It can't soak down that much. So what happens is it accumulates and it comes to a focal point and it squeezes and pees out the side of the hill. And so you'll have a wet spot there all year. You can be in the middle of a drought and you'll have a spring coming up the side of the hill. That's exactly where you would want to put a well. What you do, you'd go and find you a spring, put your well down, put your windmill above it, and you'll have great water. Because all that water filters through the ground, springs out. Well, when you have crop, that's terrible. Because it springs out and it's constantly keeping all that ground soggy wet. It's leaching nutrients, leaching nitrogen, leaching even and moving dirt to where it shouldn't go. And then, of course, we can't farm over it. But it's just, and then when it does rain and that ground's wet, whenever it rains and it runs over that ground, all that ground's already primed and ready to move dirt. That's not a good thing. So we need to dry that out to where that ground is dry and it can take moisture and rain when it comes. You want the ground, if you can drain the ground to an appropriate spot, it won't erode. It will soak water in the next go round. So we're going to try to take the moisture out of that side hill. What we're going to do is we're going to try to take the spring that's over there and move it down into the pond and give it a path of travel through a pipe into the pond, because a pond is an appropriate place for it to be. And that water does not need to travel on top of the ground from up there on that side hill down to the pond. That's not good. So other thoughts to consider is you have bottoms, and the bottoms will do the same thing. They'll stand and they'll compact, and then water won't soak down. So we will drain those bottoms out where it is better for the soil profile. And we can do it here because you have to consider topography. We're on a hill, that's the bottom. You think that's the end of the water, and the water's done when it gets there, but that's not so. If you think about it, our bottom, our lowest ground, say is 700 foot. We might still be higher than if you just go down here in the corner of Iowa to the Mississippi and you get up on top of one of their hills. Their top of their hill might still be lower than the bottom of our bottoms. Meaning if our bottom, if our water goes as low as it can on our ground, 700 foot, by the time it goes, the top of the highest hill down there in Keokuk, I don't know, I'd have to go back and look, it might only be 650 foot. So water is continually moving down to, well, ultimately all our water goes to the Gulf of Mexico. So even our bottom ground is high and still draining to Louisiana, to the Gulf of Mexico. So we have to even consider our bottom ground as ground that's draining. And we need to drain our bottom ground appropriately into the creeks so that that creek is just an established waterway. To get our creek is called, we got Abe's Fork in Richland. They meet up right over here. They go and they meet the Iowa River, and the Iowa River meets the Mississippi River, and the Mississippi River takes it all to the Gulf of Mexico. We need to get this water to the Gulf of Mexico as clean and pure as we can. And the water coming off our ground doesn't need to take any nitrogen with it, doesn't need to take any nutrients with it, doesn't need to take any dirt with it. And the best way you can get the rainwater from up here to that creek is in black tube. Is to let the water go down, filter through the ground. The ground holds the nutrients and nitrogen. Slowly filter through into a black tube, a tile, and that black tube will take it right down into the creek. I wouldn't be when it comes out of that tile, it's like spring water. Literally, it's clear, beautiful, fresh water. I'd love to take some water samples of all this tile water that's shooting into the creek. It looks perfect, and I bet you could test it. It'd be better than the stuff you get in bottles from the store. So our job as farmers is to get this water to the creek. If it's got to drain off, it needs to drain off as pure and untainted as possible. It needs to take none of our nutrients with it because that's bad for the environment. But I don't want to see my money leaving. And the ground is money. The fertility is money. It don't need to leave this farm. It needs to stay here. So that's what we're doing. That's what tiling is. I hope you learned something. and we'll try to get you something exciting to watch. Show you how to do it.
Well, this is our tiling machine that we're trying to get started so we can use it, but the battery's weak, so we're going to have to charge the battery some more. Alright, we've got some jumper cables and a can of starting fluid, and we're going to see if we can get this thing started. Okay, she's a-going. Okay, so it's a while later. We've been doing some maintenance on this. We put some oil in it, and we've actually been working back here. We've got some few things wrong with it. First off, we've been running it without brakes for the past few times that we've used it. So there is no brakes, and Daddy was trying to get the brakes working, but the brake line, we've got a brake fluid leak. And then also the main cylinder is no good. So we don't know what we're going to do. This is a very, very old tiling machine. Anyways, other maintenance that we've done on it, I just finished airing up all the tires, so that's done. We kind of have been having some lunch breaks, and Papa went and got a new battery because this one isn't holding charge very good. So we do have that. But yeah, we don't know, sorry about that, but we don't know for sure what we're going to do about the brakes, so we'll just stay tuned and see what we do.